Hello, my name is Deborah Lewis, your presenter for today, and I'm going to talk about the connection between movement and learning. And please bear with me as I will be spending a lot of time looking off to the side because I have my presentation information right next to me. So we are going to be talking about the connection between movement and learning. So learning is experience. Everything else is just information. That's a quote by Albert Einstein. So take a few moments and think about this quote. What do you think it means? Learning is experience. Everything else is just information. For many years, educational and scientific research believed that movement and learning occurred in separate and distinct areas of the human brain. In recent research, there has been an abundance of new information that dispels this long-held belief. In spite of this research, which demonstrates the importance of movement and physical activity on learning, students have less and less opportunities to engage in physical activity. And this is for a few reasons. There's increasing budget crisis that school districts are facing. There's an emphasis on the traditional subjects such as math and science in an effort to meet standardized test expectations. So we're teaching to the test and we're focusing more on that than creativity. So question, what does learning look like in your classroom? What does classroom management look like in your classroom? Schools are where most of the child's learning is supposed to take place. It's our primary promoter of inactivity, unfortunately, though. How many times have we heard or have said, sit still, stop squirming, keep your hands to yourself, don't run, stay in your seat? Let's talk about the average learning retention rates of certain activities. For one, lecture, which is the traditional way that many teachers teach. So when we lecture to our students and give them information, they actually retain only 5% of what we tell them. When they read, they retain 10%. With audio and visuals, they retain 20%. With demonstrations, they retain 30%. When we place them in discussion groups, they're actually returning 50% of what they're learning. When they're practicing by doing, they're retaining 75% of what they're learning. And when they're able to teach others, they're retaining 90% of what they're learning. So is it possible that the cerebellum, the area most commonly linked to movement, turned out to be critically important to learning? How would this change the view of traditional classrooms? The first evidence of a linkage between the cerebellum and learning appeared decades ago and is generally credited to Henrietta Liner and Alan Liner, two Stanford University neuroscientists. Their research opened the door to future research that would ultimately redraw the cognitive map. Peter Strick at the Veteran Affairs Medical Center of Syracuse, New York, traced a pathway from the cerebellum back to parts of the brain involved in memory, attention, and spatial deception. Neuroscientist Eric Kalsin of the University of California at San Diego says that autism may be related to cerebellar deficits. His brain imaging studies have shown that autistic children have smaller cerebellums and fewer cerebellar neurons. He also linked cerebellar deficits with impaired ability to shift attention quickly from one task to another. At the 1995 Annual Society of Neuroscience Conference, nearly 80 studies were mentioned that suggested strong links between the cerebellum and memory, spatial perception, language, attention, emotion, nonverbal cues, and even decision making. These findings strongly implicate the value of physical education, movement, and games in boosting cognition. In a study done in Seattle, Washington, third grade students studied language arts concepts through dance activities. Although the district-wide reading scores showed a decrease of 2%, the students involved in dance activities boosted their reading scores by 13% in 6 months. Standing appears to provide a 5 to 15% greater flow of blood and oxygen to the brain, thereby creating more arousal of attention. Specific movements can stimulate the release of the body's natural motivators, such as noradrenaline and dopamine, which wake up learners and help them feel good, maximize their energy levels, and improve their storage of information and retrieval. 64% of K-12 American students do not participate in a daily physical education program, unfortunately. We know exercise fuels the brain with oxygen, but it also feeds its neurotropins to enhance growth and greater connection between neurons. Aerobic conditioning also has been known to assist in memory. Studies suggest that exercise can reduce stress. Chronic stress releases chemicals that kill neurons in the critical area of the brain for long-term memory formation. In a Canadian study with more than 500 school children, those who spent an extra hour each day in a gym class far outperformed at exam time those who didn't exercise. So what this is saying is that we need to start class with an activity that reviews previously taught material. Have students do charades to review main ideas. Do 1-minute commercials adapted from TV to advertise upcoming content or review past content. Use the body to create timelines. Ball toss games can be used for review, for vocabulary review, building, storytelling. We got to get our kids moving. That's what research shows, that there's a definite connection with movement and learning. And so we must, as educators, find a way to integrate this into our lesson plans. So let's try it. Our kids will love us for it. Thank you.